Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back once again to the United Regional Chamber's weekly update. We try to bring on you some interesting subjects, some interesting guests, and this week I'm very happy to introduce some of you. Some of you have already met, but this is Chris McDermott. He's our new Economic Development Director here in the city of Attleboro. Hi, Chris.
How's it going, Jack? Thank you for having me on.
He did a tremendous job over in our neighboring town of Mansfield, and we kind of hired him over here to bring his talents to the city of Attleboro. So, Chris, welcome to Attleboro.
I appreciate it.
First off, tell us a little bit about Chris.
Absolutely, no, I'm happy to, and we'll get into it in a second, but some of the viewers might not know, Jack, that you and I knew each other even before I came to Mansfield. I started my career, at least in this field, probably back early 2010s with the then town of Framingham. This was before they became a city. I was working in their community and economic development office. I was there for about 3 years and a quarter before moving up to North Central Massachusetts, where I worked first actually with the North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce as their public affairs manager. In that capacity, I was responsible for a lot of outreach to our public policy partners, whether it was our state legislators, our municipal officials, et cetera. Obviously, business advocacy, also in charge of doing a lot of grant writing for the chamber. They had a regional development corporation that provided small business loans, so I was in charge of making sure that we had the capital necessary to maintain that programming. And also a number of other interesting projects, some workforce development work, and some outreach to fellow chambers, such as the United Regional Chamber in Southeastern Massachusetts. Shortly after that, I took on a role with the Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. That's that same territory, North Central Massachusetts. It's their Regional Planning Commission, which is an organization that provides comprehensive planning for the numerous municipalities that operate within that area. We have our own at SERPED, the Southeastern Regional Economic and Planning and Development Division. But working with them for about a year on their comprehensive economic development strategy, and a number of other projects for member municipalities, including a age-restricted development bylaw, a number of needs assessments, and some grant writing for them as well. Also served as a liaison to the Economic Development Administration. So some really exciting work up there, but I saw an opportunity open up about going on 3 years ago with the town of Mansfield. They had a number of things that really attracted me, not least of which was the Cabot Business Park. So I took the opportunity to come down there and work as their inaugural economic development director, really serving as a point of contact for the area's business community. I oversaw the Discover Mansfield campaign. I was involved in monthly meetings that I launched with our planning director, building inspector, and assessor regarding ongoing development throughout the town, and generally working to attract increased development and investment to the community. So I was there until about going on 2 months ago now, and I saw this position open up. And while we're doing some great work in Mansfield, we were just wrapping up our inaugural sign and facade program. We did a number of great projects in the downtown. This position came with a number of opportunities that I just couldn't pass up. I mean, first of all, Attleboro is a gateway community, which provides some unique funding and some unique programming. The city also has a redevelopment authority, as some of you might be aware. So the opportunity to step into a role where I'm working directly with a body like that was very exciting. And the opportunity to work in a city form of government. As many of you are aware, Mansfield is a town, Attleboro obviously a city, so it's a different format, a different form of government, a different pace. So I just had a lot of great opportunities, and I was fortunate enough to be selected to take the role. So that's what brings me here today and speaking to you all.
Well, we're glad that you're here. You've brought a lot of experience and knowledge that we can certainly use here in the city of Attleboro. What do you see as some of the major projects that you're going to start to work on? Now
So
that
I've
you're
been
trying to get your feet on the ground, even after 2 months, there's so many different people you got to meet and companies, and so
there
tell us.
is when I took the role that I mentioned with the chamber, the first thing I learned was that when you take on roles like this, the first 3 months, you're hitting the concrete, you're reaching out to people, you're trying to meet as many as possible while coming up to speed on all your departments or your organization's programming. So that's what I've been doing. Jack, I know I had a dinner with you a couple of months ago, and again, I really appreciate you've been very welcoming and bringing me into the community, reaching out to some of the other stakeholders, learning about what their concerns are, what their priorities are, what really makes this community unique, and what role everyone plays within it, and how I can, assist in that. What role I can play as well. So that's been a major focus. My predecessor did a lot of great work for the city. She left behind a number of projects and priorities. So I've been going through those reports and those policies and procedures, bring myself up to speed on that. Obviously, reaching out to my fellow department heads as well. Really learning what the flow of work is within the city. But beyond that, like you said, Jack, I'm starting to build out my own agenda, my own priorities, and my own goals and objectives. And I think there's a number of key categories there. Two really big ones. The first one I really see is continued downtown growth and development. I think Attleboro has an amazing downtown. It's a very unique downtown. It's a thriving business center, but there's always opportunity to bring that to the next level. So working with partners such as the Transformative Development Initiative partnership, which is a sort of a local state collaborative, working with individuals like the Chamber and the Downtown Attleboro Business Association, which Jack, I know you're involved with both, obviously as the president of the Chamber and also a key figure within DAWA. That's their acronym for anyone who might be watching. Identifying strategies that we can really use to attract more visitors, improve walkability within the downtown, create that kind of environment that people want to visit, and also attract the type of critical, responsible development that is really necessary for maintaining a downtown business center. And that's what creates that foot traffic that you really need to maintain, build, and grow the downtown businesses you have, and create that type of thriving environment you really want to see in a neighborhood like this. So that's my first priority. My second one is really looking up beyond the downtown and the downtown business core. Attleboro has a long, proud industrial legacy, and that's something that's always attracted me in roles. That was something that was true in North Central Massachusetts, where you have a longstanding plastics concentration. That's something that was true in Mansfield, where you have the Cabot Business Park, which has gone through a number of different evolutions over the years, dating back to the 70s. Yep. And that's absolutely something that's true here in Attleboro, where you have a long-standing jewelry cluster that goes back to, I think, the turn of the last century at least. So looking at that, looking at the industrial businesses that are here now and how they've evolved, how many of them have shifted from jewelry manufacturing to metals, and now they're going into technology and chip manufacturing and things of that nature. How we can continue that legacy moving forward is something that I think is very exciting, and also obviously critical to the city's continued economic health. So I think there's a couple of tools we can use to that end. One, I really look forward to, I mentioned working with the Redevelopment Authority before. I think they're going to be a critical partner in this, and identifying new parcels that can be developed, that can maybe be that are maybe up for sale, that can be purchased, that can be positioned in a way so they can be put back onto the market in a better condition than were found. To that end, we also have what's called brownfields funding. For those who might not be familiar, a brownfield is a generally contaminated site. This is something you find in a lot of industrial communities. There's not one that I've worked in that hasn't had an issue with that. So we have funding that enables us to take parcels like that, clean and remediate them, and again, position them to go back onto the market as a new use. So really utilizing those two tools in conjunction with each other to identify, prepare, and then ideally put parcels back out to bid, and identify employers who are interested in purchasing them, who will come and bring with them a positive workforce impact, hiring individuals throughout the community, and also a fiscal impact as well, bring a little additional revenue to the tax base. And that's really the two priorities that I have. Beyond that, I think it's always important for someone in my position to work to improve and elevate the community's profile. That's something I did with Discover Mansfield. It's also something I did even before then in Framingham with the Choose Framingham campaign, which was an initiative that they were running at that time through my office. So how we can work with our partners, such as the Chamber, such as the Sun Chronicle, and other media organizations who are in our ecosystem, to raise the city's profile and continue to attract employers and investors to it is something that's also absolutely critical. So those kind of spread out three, I'd say, broad categories of work that really fall within this office. And I really look forward to working with everyone that's in the environment to pursue it.
Well, one of the questions I was asked to ask you, and you've kind of touched on it already, is this remediation. And I don't know if you'll have an answer for this one because I think each site is unique. But what is the average time length to fix a site that before you can put it back on the for sale rolls or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the site that you're looking at and what's found there. Usually, what happens when they're looking at a parcel to be remediated is first they do a deed study of all things. You literally have a consultant that goes to the registry of deeds, digs back as far as they can, and just stacks the list of past uses that could be identified. And usually, that gives you an idea of what you're probably going to find. If it says that it was a paint manufacturing plant, you may find lead there. If it says that it was an auto body shop or use, you may find soil contaminants from spilled oil or other products there. So that gives you a baseline to work against. At that point, you have an engineer that comes in. They pull soil samples. They test those to identify what contaminants are present, if there are any, and where that contamination might be. And then you work with them to develop a plan to address it. At that point, it goes way beyond my pay grade because you're working with engineers to identify different solutions. So sometimes it is they have to dig up and pull up all the soil, which is usually what you try to avoid. That's the most expensive solution.
Sure.
Other times they're able to inject decontaminants into the soil or create a venting system that will actually over time decontaminate it. And then you continue to monitor that site until it's reached an acceptable level of cleanliness. You also obviously talk about what can be done with the parcel moving forward. It might be limited to industrial. And again, that's perfectly fine. I absolutely believe in industrial uses. So it depends on the site. It depends on what needs to be done and the level of contamination. Obviously, we try to move forward in as efficient a manner as possible. But it's hard to give a simple byline from parcel to parcel.
That's what I thought. And when I was asked to ask you that question, I said to them, I'm not sure because each site is unique.
Yep.
Now let's talk about another subject. Something that's desperately needed is housing. And, unfortunately, I've had a lot of people call and talk to me about, we have the water issues, we have this issues. How do you see the housing market and what can we do here in Attleboro to help with that?
Absolutely. Well, I think housing is a critical issue nationally, but in particular for the Commonwealth. And I think Attleboro has been taking a very responsible and proactive approach to addressing it. We're very excited. There are a number of developments downtown. I think everyone's aware of the transit-oriented development that'll be occurring adjacent to the MBTA station. That's an ongoing process, but very exciting. There have also been a number of developments that are going up in our downtown. I recently visited the Jewel, which should be coming online in the near future, and that's what we sometimes call an infill development, where you're converting a former industrial space to a new use. Or there are locations such as 29 South Main Street. Those are obviously concentrated in the downtown, but I think that's part of what we need to attract to our downtown to promote continued growth. And like I said, support those small businesses that populate the downtown center. We're also going to have development, in other areas. They'll depend largely on the zoning and the appetite for the development market to absorb those sites. So there are some conversations regarding different parcels at all times. There's always stuff moving through permitting. But I do think it's important to keep a close eye on resources such as water, electricity, and how they're impacting the community's load. So there's always a constant conversation that's going on within a city relative to permitting regarding, what's our capacity? Does this fit within the ability with the resources that we have? How can we move forward? Where do we need to make improvements? So that's all part of the permitting, and much of that is handled by the planning department and the planning board. But when it comes to particularly, I think the downtown and housing development, that's something that I take a very keen interest in because it does go hand in hand with our continued business vitality there.
Absolutely. And, we do have the two train stations. I know the one down in South Attleboro is going through a big change right now, but I believe it's open for a little bit anyways. But the downtown station, and more companies are now requiring folks to come back into the office. Speaking to some of the owners the property owners downtown, more and more people are getting on that train to go back into Boston. Do you see that happening, not just in Boston, but around the area as well?
We do. We absolutely do. Not to reference my previous position, but I know in Mansfield, we had pretty hard traffic counts, and we knew that, at the very least, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that parking lot was full up again. I haven't had a chance to connect directly with the MBTA on this matter specifically, but I fully suspect that it's the same situation here. Attleboro is uniquely positioned where we have train service to both Providence and Boston. So attracting those commuters, often young professionals, but also maybe sometimes people who are moving towards retirement and looking to downsize, or anyone really who's looking for a transit-oriented home situation where they have the possibility to, walk to the restaurant downtown, but still wake up in the morning, hit the train, and go into the city. I think that's absolutely the niche that we're looking for. It brings people that have skills. It brings people that have a certain expendable income, and really helps drive our economy. So I do think that's a trend that we're going to continue to see, whether people are called back into the office 5 days a week, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, they are getting called back in. So continued train traffic is here to stay.
And, if you had a wish list, or I know you've started to talk to an awful lot of people in town, there's still thousands you got to talk to.
Absolutely.
But if you had a wish list, what type of businesses would you like to see move into Attleboro?
It depends on the area. I mean, for the downtown, I think we really want to see some more entertainment-based businesses, perhaps. Some more restaurants, some more higher-end bars. I'm really excited about the prospect of the Union Street Theater and the work that's being done there. I know that's a nonprofit organization, but still, that type of entertainment attraction in the heart of our community is something that can really help drive a downtown. I've seen that. In my hometown of Natick, I've also seen it work in Framingham, and in Mansfield, where you have the Mass Music and Arts Center.
Yep.
So very exciting work there. And then, as I was saying, when it expands out beyond downtown Attleboro, you're looking at more corporate industrial uses, organizations that are like Sensota, that are like EMS, that are producing goods and exporting them to other states or even nations. So finding that right mix of businesses, and depending on where you're looking at, is really critical. But I think it's something that the city has a lot to offer, and I think it's something we're fully capable of doing.
Well, folks, one of the things you've seen going across the bottom third of your screen is how to get a hold of Chris. He's very willing to answer any questions you might have, talk to you about some, maybe some interest that you have, businesses or whatever it might come to into downtown. So, Chris, we have another minute or two. Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to have?
Again, I really appreciate, first of all, thank you, Jack, and to all your membership for having me on this program. I really appreciate it. I look forward to working with you as the Chamber's executive and the Chamber as a whole. As I said, it's an industry that I've worked in. I have a lot of fondness for it. I had a great time. I only got to do 1 year of Institute of Organizational Management, unfortunately. But it really did provide me a wealth of experience and a number of great memories. So I really do look forward to working with you and your membership. And to anyone who's viewing who might not be a member of the Chamber, please, as Jack was saying, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to serve at the pleasure of the community, at the pleasure of the city, and work hand in hand with the mayor that you've elected to move this city forward. So I'm open to any and all input, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, we're really excited to work with you. I know you've got some fabulous ideas, some great experience, and I look forward to seeing some of these new businesses and housing units coming into Attleboro to help us grow a little bit more, because
Absolutely.
We are a unique city. With the intersection of many highways, we have 2 train stations, so there's an awful lot of opportunity here, and I know that you are going to jump on some of those opportunities as soon as they arrive. So, Chris, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. You and I am sure we'll have 1 or 2 more conversations as we go forward.
Just a couple.
And you're welcome back on the show anytime you'd like to share some information, with the general public. Feel free to give me a holler. I also want to say thank you to James Friedman and the team over there at AACS, who put up with me on a weekly basis, and they really help the community as well. So, Chris McDermott, the Economic Development Director of the City of Attleboro. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it.
Everybody, stay safe.